Welcome to My Spoonie Sisters, featuring stories from special guests dedicated to empowering those with chronic illness. Our goal? To connect people and provide the support and tools they need to live a better life. For those with chronic illness, our energy levels just fade faster. We must be more purposeful with the spoons allotted to us. So grab your coffee or tea, sister, and tune in as My Spoonie Sisters share stories of living with chronic illness. Hi, my Spoonie Sisters. I am so excited to share with you. Oh my gosh, we've got Alison, and I cannot wait for you to get to know her so much better. So hi, Alison.
Hello.
Oh, thank you for coming and joining.
I'm excited to be here.
I would like you to start by telling us a little bit about yourself and your diagnosis story.
Okay. So my name's Alison and I live in northern Michigan, a small little rural area. Love it here. The winters are harsh, but the summers are so worth it. I am married and I have a little fur baby that's walking around right below me right now. But that's, so about my diagnosis story, my diagnosis kind of when I started getting sick, I just kept telling myself I wasn't drinking enough water. I was sleeping funny because the first thing that started happening is my hands would go numb. And I was just like, oh, I'm just using them too much. I have a desk job where I write a lot, use my computer all the time. So I let my self go for over a year without going and getting it checked out. And that's probably one of my biggest regrets, is not going sooner. But it's in that time frame of the year, it spread from my hands to my wrists, to my elbows, to my knees, to my shoulders. And it got to a point where I could not take care of myself. My husband had to dress me. He had to help me in the morning. He had to physically do everything for me. And by the time I got to work, I was exhausted. I was cranky. It just wasn't good. And then I finally was like, okay, enough is enough. There's something wrong with me. I can't keep telling myself that I'm just not drinking enough water, because I was drinking plenty of water. So after I went there, I told them that what's going on with me. And they're like, we're going to refer you to a rheumatologist. And they sent me over there and they did blood work, and she was actually really shocked when she saw my numbers. She's like, there's no clue that you have rheumatoid arthritis. Your levels are some of the highest I've ever seen in the rheumatoid factors and things like that in your blood work. And she put me on some medication and sent me on my way. My biggest regret is not seeking a second opinion after meeting with her, because I stayed with her for 4 years or 3 years. And I was just on this medication. She never asked if I was feeling better. She never asked if I was getting worse during my appointments. She just, when I met with her, she would talk about, these are the things that will happen in the future for you. And this is kind of where you're at. I didn't know that I should be asking, is there other medication I should be on? Or if there's things I could do besides what I'm currently doing. And I always say I kind of felt like I was just abandoned, and that's really unfortunate. I will say though, the medication she did put me on helped me a little bit. Like I was able to do things a little bit more independently than I was. But it wasn't until I kind of dug more into my diagnosis and what it entailed, because she didn't tell me anything about like what it affects. And I had to do all this research on my own. And I'm not saying anything wrong with her and her practice or how she did it, but it just wasn't a fit for me. So then I sought out a new doctor. And I have actually a really funny story about how my doctor and I became, or how I met my doctor. I had an appointment with him in June, and Memorial Day weekend, right before it, he is from the Lansing area, which is down south in Michigan, about 4 hours from where I live. He happened to be up on his sailboat passing through, and his boat broke down. He was heading up to Mackinac, which is in the UP for Michigan, and his boat broke down and he stopped at the harbor. And I just happened to be in my friend's store down by the harbor. And this guy walked in, he's like, I'm from East Lansing and I'm just here, shopping a little bit, and we're headed back down. My appointment was the very next day. So I drove down to East Lansing and I walk into my doctor's office and it's this guy I just met the day before. And he's like, it's fate. We were meant to meet. I was meant to be your doctor. And honestly, finding him has been the best thing for me. He is the most patient. He answers all my questions. After he looked me over, and saw how I was in my journey with rheumatoid arthritis, I broke down in tears because he just looked at me. He goes, kiddo, you can be doing so much better. You do not need to suffer like this. And it just like broke me and saved me all at the same time, that someone actually was like, you don't have to live like this. Cause it was horrible. Like I cried every day, practically. It was bad. And I just felt alone. But since I found my new doctor, he's amazing. And any questions, I can call there and he'll answer them right that day. He's very open and able to be there for me. And he wants me to live the best possible life I can. And he constantly checks in with me. And it's just so refreshing to have someone who cares for you as much as you care for yourself in this journey. So
it's amazing to find a care team like that. Was your first rheumatologist more local to you?
Nope. I still had to travel. I had to travel about 2 hours away. So where we live, we don't have a rheumatologist. Probably the closest one is 2.5 hours away. So
oh, wow.
Anyone in the area has to travel.
Okay. Well, that's a fun story that you have. And honestly, it's almost like if I were in your shoes, walking in there and having that happen and having him say that, it's like, okay, I'm meant to be here. This is encouraging.
That's exactly how I felt. Like, I was meant to meet you that day. And then he says we always have like this special bond because he's like, I met you beforehand. And now he's like, I always think about you. Whenever we talk about traveling or boating, he goes, I always think, and he, calls me his little miracle patient when he describes me to other people, because I went in a matter of, when I met with him in June, by my next appointment, which was a month later, I had some of the lowest levels in my rheumatoid factor that he had seen in a long time. And he goes, you responded so well and so good to this. I call you my little miracle patient when I talk about you to other people and say, you can go from being really bad to being okay. So it's just, we have this really special bond.
That's amazing. What kind of treatment plan change did he make for you?
So he put me on another medication. I was just on Plaquenil when I was seeing him, and he put me on methotrexate, which really helped me a lot. And I actually recently just got put on another, I'm going to be doing Humira as well, just to give me the extra little bit to help. So I was real hesitant about being added to new medication because I'm scared of side effects and all the things that can happen. And I feel like I've been really fortunate that I haven't really had any side effects from my medication outside of just a little nausea or something like that every once in a while. So I feel really fortunate because I know they can be really brutal on some people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell people, don't listen to my story and get super freaked out, because when I share with people what's happened to me, it's so rare. It's so rare. And that's why I'm so hesitant to share it with people, because not everybody's going to be that way. Because there are a lot of people that are exactly in your shoes and respond really well without hardly any problems. And that's fantastic. Mm-hmm. So when we invited you to this whole Spoonie group, were you familiar with the term Spoonie?
I actually was very new to the term. Like, I had heard it, and actually my mom had kind of introduced me into it. Probably, I want to say maybe 2 or 3 weeks before I actually kind of met you. And she had bought me this little wooden spoon, and it just said Spoonie Love on it. And she's like, I heard this is something associated with the autoimmune community. And she goes, I just want you to always have one extra spoon. And I was just like, Mom, you're the best, And then I kind of got to know you guys, and it just kind of made sense to me and I kind of became more familiar with it.
Yeah. Well, and it's nice to know that so many more people are starting to understand, and also starting to understand that it can apply to so many different things. It doesn't have to necessarily mean that you have a chronic illness. It can be mental health. It can be emotional health. It can be all kinds of things. And I think it's also helped people better understand one another. The woman that came up with it, she's absolutely a genius.
Yeah. I mean, it makes so much sense. Like, I mean, you could essentially use anything instead of a spoon, but it just like, you're right. Cause you were like, I can run out of energy so quick with just the simplest thing, and just having that like mentality with it. I don't know. And she's a genius, like you said.
Absolutely. Absolutely a genius. And now so many people are sharing her spoon theory. And there's even, did you hear there's a fork theory now?
I did not hear that.
So I did some research, and there's actually the fork theory, and it's talking about basically giving yourself negative. And so it's a lot of it is talking about if somebody is kind of in a way, like say attacking you with hurtful things that they say to you. If I called you up today and I just gave you so much criticism for several things, and I said a lot of hurtful things, eventually it's just going to keep pecking at you. And as your day goes on, it's almost like I'm taking away your spoons. And so it's the fork theory.
It's no fun.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I went down a rabbit hole with that one. So let's see, where shall we go next? How would the ones closest to you describe you?
I would probably say I get like fighter. I get told I'm very strong and I'm fighter, but friendly. I hear inspirational a lot, but I don't necessarily like that term in the aspect of like, I'm not doing anything normal. I'm living my life. I just happen to live it with this diagnosis. So I think I'm not trying to be negative, but like, I don't necessarily want to associate inspirational, because everyone goes through things. And just because something's hard for me and doesn't mean that something else isn't hard for someone else. But I would say probably upbeat. I get told a lot of times, like, people can't imagine what I'm going through unless they go through it. Unless you're experiencing something similar, you don't get it. But they're amazed at how positive and happy and smiley I am through the whole thing. And I just kind of, I can choose that about me. I can't choose my illness. I can't choose the pain. And sometimes it does get to me, but I can choose to smile, and I can choose to make the best out of my day. So probably that.
Well, and that's the thing, is you can choose to be an encouragement to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's exactly what you are, because if someone goes to your platform, they look at you and they see that, yeah, you share that sometimes you might need, an extra nap, or you're exhausted, but they're going to see all that smiley and fun side of you. And they're going to see that it doesn't always have to be a terrible thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much more to all of us.
We're so much more than our diagnosis. That's what I always say.
Absolutely. And it's so true. And I look at so many of our Spoonie sisters, and we inspire others. We encourage others. We lift each other up, and that's what it should be.
Yeah. Some of the most upbeat women I've encountered in my life. And I feel really blessed to have met so many like of these sisters, and just the communication and the one-on-one conversations I get to have. Like, I feel like I have friends across the world now, or countries. And it's just amazing, the connections that have been made. And like, I can reach out to people and be like, hey, what about this? Or when this happens, it's just those nice conversations that I'm able to have with a lot of people. Like, I don't know a lot of people in my area that have this condition. So it's been nice to like be able to open up and talk to people about it. Mm-hmm. And that's really helped me share my voice with how I'm going through this. I believe in being transparent. I'm going to tell you the good, the bad, the ugly, everything with it. And I've actually learned about a lot of people in my community that have this, and they've reached out to me, and we've met and we've talked, and they're like, we don't know anyone who's open about this. And people want to talk. They want to share. They want to know that they're not alone. And I think that's another big thing with the group, the Spoonie Sisters, is that we know we're not alone, and that we have people who can kind of relate. Not everyone's experience is the same, but we can at least understand to a point that like things are happening and you're not alone in this. And I think that's one of the biggest things in the beginning of my journey is I didn't talk to anyone about it for years and I didn't want to share it. And I was scared and I felt alone, and it really opened me up as a person and changed me a lot when I was able to find people who I could relate to. And I could be like, my life's okay, but this really, really sucks. And I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah. Well, and I love that sometimes it doesn't even have to be, RA related or Spoonie related. I can just be like, oh, guess what, Allison? I got my coffee today. I'm going to send you a picture.
Yeah. I love that. We can tag each other and stuff like that. Just be like, oh, friends.
It is so much fun. I love finding all the people that like the coffee. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to pretend I'm sending you coffee now. So how long ago was your diagnosis?
So 2018. So 4 years ago at the beginning of 2018. But I always say 5 years because I went a whole year without doing anything about it. But yeah, so about 5 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay. I lost track of my notes. Oh. All right. Where were we? Okay. If you could only keep 4 items in your Spoonie toolkit, what would those 4 items be?
So definitely my electric blanket. I am always cold and the heat just like helps. Like I can't describe it. I would also have to say
Calling all Spoonies. As a host of a chronic illness podcast, nothing lights up my day more than hearing from you, our incredible listeners. Whether it's a topic close to your heart that you want us to uncover, or you are keen to show your own journey as a guest on our show, your voice matters. Living with chronic illness can often feel isolating, but through the power of podcasting, we can come together as a community to uplift, educate, and inspire one another. Your stories, insights, and questions drive the conversations we have and the topics we explore. So if there's something on your mind, a story that you are just itching to share, or a guest you'd love to hear from, don't hesitate to reach out. Your voice is not only welcomed here, but celebrated. Let's continue to amplify the voices of those living with chronic illnesses and create a space where everyone feels heard, supported, and empowered. Together, we are stronger.
That's a good question. I never really thought of that.
Anything that brings you maybe some comfort or relaxation?
Yeah. So definitely my heated blanket. I feel like this is weird, not weird, but like my phone, like I just like to be able to like scroll aimlessly and it takes my mind off things. So I'll like look on Pinterest for like home decor things or, that's just something else that definitely helps. I can't think of anything. I'm like drawing a blank.
We can come back to it.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Because it might randomly pop into your head.
Yeah. Okay.
But you did mention Pinterest, and you are always sharing like the coolest videos and pictures of things you've done to your house.
Oh.
And I love that. It's so much fun.
We've put a lot of work into this. When we got it, it was less than desirable. We'll say it was 100% a fixer upper, and put a lot of work into it. But it's been fun. And I'm the type of person that like, I like change in my design. So like we've probably redone our living room 3 times and repainted our kitchen like 4 or 5 times since we've been here. We've been here 10 years. So I'm constantly changing, but it's fun. I like it. I take pride in making our house look cute, especially around the holidays. I'm like huge into Christmas decorations. Like I started decorating October 31st for Christmas because I absolutely love decorating.
Well, and that's the thing is anyone on here that has not seen your reel from showing your transformation of your porch for Christmas, go watch it. It is the funnest reel. I just love it. You're standing on the porch, you jump in the air, and before you know it, Christmas
appears.
Love it. I absolutely love it. And your porch was so cute.
Oh, thank you.
Let's see here. Considering where you are now in your journey thus far, would you say that you have come to terms, come to peace with your diagnosis?
100%. I, for a long time, probably the first year after I was diagnosed, I would constantly ask, what did I do wrong in my life to deserve this? Was I a bad person? Did I do something? Like, I felt like I did something wrong. And I would look back and I would critique everything. Like, if I had just started eating better, if I had just started working out, or if I had, if I didn't have those drinks, or, I would just play everything in my mind. Like, I did something to deserve this. And that's not it at all. And it took me a long time to realize that, and having conversations with people that this just happens. You don't know. And, but I've definitely come to terms with it. It's part of who I am and part of my journey. And, I wouldn't wish any of this on anyone, but if I can learn and grow through this and be transparent about what's going on and share my story, and it helps one person, then it's worth it to me to have to. But yeah, I'm definitely come to terms with it. That's just part of my journey in life, and I'm okay with that.
Don't you feel like it's not almost, but do you feel like it's made you a more compassionate person? Because I feel like it's made me more understanding and compassionate to others.
Oh, 100%. Like, before it has changed my mindset and how I say things to people and how I think. Like, we all hate this term, but you don't look sick. And that is one of the things someone would be like, oh, I don't feel well, or I know they'd have some type of chronic condition. And I'd be like, oh, but you look great. That doesn't help. And, I've changed my mindset and tried to like educate. Well, that's a great sentiment. And I know you're trying to be nice when you say it, but it, I don't know, those type of things. It's definitely, change that.
It's entirely unhelpful.
Yeah.
Several months ago, when I decided to make the decision to go back on methotrexate for the combination to see if it would help me better, I had posted something about it in my stories, and I think I had tears in my eyes, and I was just saying, this really sucks. And I had someone that doesn't really know me that well reach out to me, and respond to my stories. And she was like, oh my gosh, she looks so beautiful today. Well, what does that have to do with what I just said? I don't need to hear that. I feel like crap. I'm in tears about what's going on in my life. And you're going to tell me that I look beautiful? Yeah. That's entirely unhelpful. No. Go away. Go away. I'm done with you. I'm pretty sure I unfriended her after that. Have you ever done that to anyone?
Oh, 100%. Like, I've learned a lot about communicating with people and sharing things. And I've had to unfriend a couple of people because they would just continue to make comments and things like, well, we can't see anything wrong with you, so you can't be that sick. Or, oh, I saw you went and did this, so are you fixed or are you cured now? And I'm just like, those things can be hurtful. Making someone question or trying to have to prove how sick they are, it's hurtful. And it just makes you like, we all try and be positive with this. Like, I know we all try, but like those things really cut you down. And you're like, well, I don't look sick, but I am sick, but like there's something wrong with me and people don't believe me. And it just makes you question a lot of yourself at times. And so I have unfortunately had to unfollow and unfriend and kind of not communicate with people like that, because it's not worth my mental health to have to try and justify that. I'm sorry, I'm walking with a limp today, but yesterday I was able to work out. Not every day is the same. And absolutely. I'm glad it's not the same, because some days are harder than others. And
absolutely. And I will take any good day I can get.
Exactly.
Okay. Have you thought of any more things for your Spoonie toolkit, or should we keep going?
Let's just keep going.
Okay. How did you inform or educate your loved ones about your diagnosis? Was that difficult for you?
It wasn't difficult. I will say I was a little nervous to share because I didn't know exactly what it meant. And I'm very close with my family. And after I had my initial doctor's appointment, I called my mom right away and I'm like, Mom, this is what's going on. And my mom has the biggest heart. And she cried on the phone with me and she's like, I just wish I could take this away from you. You know, you're my child. I don't want to see you suffer. But my parents are like some of my biggest supporters in my life, and they will do anything for me. So my mom, the very next day, she's like, I heard turmeric helps. I heard if you, don't eat red meat, or, you know, it's like, it was overwhelming at times, but she was just so helpful and she just wanted to help me so bad. And every time, like, I have found for myself, avoiding gluten and dairy really, really helps with my inflammation. So anytime, like for my birthday, she makes me gluten-free, dairy-free cake, so I have something to enjoy. And at meals, she makes sure there's an option for me because she knows that it's better for me. So it's just, I don't feel like having to educate the loved ones in my life was hard at all. My whole family is so compassionate and they just want to help. And they always constantly check in on me and like, how's it going? You know, we haven't heard from you in a while, just checking in on how you're feeling. And, but I definitely, as I continue to learn more myself, I share that with them. I'm very open with them. And I be like, hey, this is what's going on. And I'm not afraid to talk about it. I was at the beginning more so, but now I probably have become that annoying family member that talks about their diagnosis all the time. But I just feel like it's important to continue to educate people. And then also, since I found out, my dad also was diagnosed after me with it. And bless my dad, he carries guilt. He's like, I did this to you. And I'm like, no, you didn't, Dad. Like, bless his heart. But so we actually have been able to kind of help each other and be like, hey, this works really well for me. Why don't you try it? Or vice versa, and things like that. So me and my dad have always been really close, but it just kind of made us a little bit more closer because we can kind of relate to each other on that.
Sounds like you have a fantastic family.
I'm biased, but I think they're the best.
I mean, what better than to have a family that's walking through it with you?
Mm-hmm. And they want to. It's not like I'm dragging them along. They're actively participating in this with me. And they're like, when we go out, they're like, do you need to rest? You know, if they notice me lagging, or we can slow down, you know, like I don't have to be like, hey guys, I can't do this. They actively are like taking care of me along the way, which is nice.
They're checking in on you.
Yeah.
Because they care.
They do.
Okay, let's see here. Did you know anything about the autoimmune disease, chronic illness community? And were you aware that there's so many people that are battling these invisible illnesses? I can't even talk.
I had no idea. I had heard about the term autoimmune disease, but I honestly didn't know what it meant. I didn't know anything about it. I had a coworker that her daughter has an and she's talked about it before, but that was the extent of it. And I didn't even know that rheumatoid arthritis was an autoimmune disease until much later into my diagnosis, when I started doing my own research on it. And I was just like, oh my goodness. And just the things about, and I didn't know there was, like, you always know there's a lot of like diseases and things going on in the world, but you don't know all the variations and what they do and how many people are affected by it. And it was just mind blowing to me. Like I'm a big like learner. I want to learn about things. Like when I know something, I want to learn about it to the extent, and just, I continuously like research like different stuff so I can learn more about it. And it's just fascinating to me. Like I had no idea. And you don't know unless you're in it. Like I never would have thought to go out and be like, what's an autoimmune disease? Like I never would have actively pursued looking into it if it wasn't for this.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, ever since the Spoonie Sisters group had started, and since now doing the podcast, I feel like I'm geeking out. I'm getting so excited to talk about these things with people and find out more.
It's I don't want to say it's like fascinating, but it's interesting to hear other people with different diagnoses and what that means. I always want to be like a good support person. So I feel like the more I can learn about them, if they're having a bad day, like how could I help them, or just being an ear to listen to and learning about these things, I enjoy it.
Well, and I want to know the similarities and how can I better be there for you as a friend?
Yeah.
Because maybe we're suffering with some of the same things. So yeah, it's definitely opened my eyes to so many things.
I agree.
And like I said, I'm geeking out, which is, it's strange to me that I'm so excited about something that I never thought I would be.
I know, right?
All right, here's the big one. This is the one I wanted to surprise you with. If I asked you to nominate a fellow warrior for a Spoonie Sister highlight, who would you nominate and why?
So I had thought about this, and it's you. I'm going to say and I'm not saying this because I'm on your podcast, but you were really the first person who I actively could talk about, who reached out to me, and we started communicating, and like the first, friend, I want to even say like that, made me feel like I wasn't alone in this. There had been other people that had reached out, but it'd been like one or two conversations, like, what kind of medication are you taking? And how did this help you? But you like also check in with me and like, how's school going? Like me sending you virtual coffee, things like that, that makes it fun. And just, you're such a positive light all the time. Like, I just know that like, if I'm having a bad moment, I can go to your page and you're posting fun reels, or you're smiling, or, you make me feel better as a person. Even if I don't get to talk to you or message with you, I know that like, okay, this rock star is kicking butt today and she's my friend and she's just living life. And I don't know, you definitely have been a big like help for me mentally, if not just emotionally too.
Thank you so much. You're making me cry. And honestly, as part of why I've done what I've done is because I feel like there are so many people out there that are either new in their walk or they have just felt so alone. And I don't ever want anyone to feel like that. I want people to feel like there's someone watching out for them, paying attention and ready to listen. Because I feel like in the beginning, number one, slowly I watched my friends, my close friends here in my actual town disappear. I actually had someone tell me that she could not handle being friends with me because she couldn't handle being friends with someone that was sick because she was afraid of like losing someone. And I didn't know how to take that.
That's heartbreaking.
And I would think, well, if you're so worried about losing someone, wouldn't you want to hold them closer? And so that was a really hard one. And just people just not understanding and saying some really foolish things. And so I wanted to create something where people always felt supported and always felt like someone had their back. And that has been my goal. And I'm going to keep striving for it.
You have 100% done that. You've formed the Spoonie Sisters group of that has helped me make further connections with people and helped me find things. So you're definitely doing that. You're a blessing to so many people. And I feel fortunate, however we stumbled upon each other in this world, but I've just been forever grateful. And I tell people that all the time, because they see me post about Spoonie Sisters or share stuff. And they're like, how do you know her? Is she from college or what's going on? And I'm like, you met on Instagram.
Nope, just some random girl. And honestly, so many of the girls in the Spoonie Sisters group, I can't even remember how I met each of you.
Yeah.
And I've asked several, do you remember how we met? And several of them were thinking maybe it was we liked each other's reels or something.
Yeah.
But it's a mystery. I think the only person I recall how I met her is Chelsea. And that was because another girl that I know that I've loved all her reels. She's super entertaining. She's a dancer. She was interviewed by Chelsea for the podcast. And so that's how I found Chelsea. And before I knew it, I just started kind of slowly meeting more and more people. And I was like, you know what? Let's do something fun. There's enough, drama in our lives with what we have to deal with. Let's have some fun. Let's start tossing some spoons and see what we can do.
Love it. You created a very positive community. So great job.
I hope it keeps growing. I really do.
It will.
And I hope we can each continue being that for other people. I want it to spread like fire. So what would you tell your younger self about your current self?
Are you talking like young in my diagnosis or much younger? Like how to,
like, let's think of like middle school or high school years.
Okay. So I would definitely tell myself that you're going to find out how strong you are as a person. Middle school and high school, I loved high school. Don't get me wrong. I loved it. But like at the time, like I was extremely overweight and I struggled with like a lot of self-confidence issues. And if I could just tell myself now, like, life gets better. It's going to be hard, but it gets so much better. And at times I can say that when I was younger, like, I just was like, what am I doing? Why is life like this? And I just wish I could tell myself, you're so tough and you're going to see how tough you are. And it's going to be hard, but you're going to come out better and things will get better for you.
And you're going to be an absolute rock star.
Yeah.
Because now you're posting all this fun stuff about going to school. You're posting about the workouts that you do. And of course, coffee.
Yeah, coffee. Always. That's how people identify me. I swear they're like, oh, coffee girl, gotcha. If I don't walk into work with a coffee, they're like, ooh, bad morning, or what's going on? Did you need us to order you one?
I almost feel like I have this weird criteria of I'm seeking out people that love coffee and love to work out.
It's yeah, exactly. They go hand in hand, it feels like at times.
If you had to make yourself a promise right now, what do you think it would be?
I would probably make myself a promise that just keep doing what you're doing. I sometimes still second guess myself and I think like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't post that or I shouldn't, but it's worth it. So I just promise myself to keep being authentic, keep being transparent and keep doing what you're doing because it makes me feel better. And in the end of the day, that's all that matters really. If I can help someone along the way, that's great, but I'm doing it for me too. Like it's my journey. This is my life. And so just promise yourself you won't stop doing what you're doing because it's working for you.
Have you ever noticed that sometimes when you're posting things, it's just as much or more for yourself than anyone else?
Oh, I would say probably 90% of the time it's me holding myself accountable for things. Like I probably do post a lot of selfies working out or whatever, but like it helps me know that I'm being held accountable and things like that. So I want to say most of it is for me. Sometimes it isn't, but yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Whenever I've had people reach out and be like, oh my gosh, I needed this today and I needed to hear this. I was like, oh, actually I did.
Yeah.
So I'm glad it worked for you, but
no, I get that
how
too.
I was feeling.
Yeah. I get that people would be like, I'll share like a quote or something. And they're like, oh, I needed, like you said, I needed to hear this too. And you're like, me too. And if I know that I needed to hear it, someone else probably did too.
Exactly. It's almost like those posts that go around women saying like, don't forget to put your laundry in the dryer. This is your friendly reminder.
Yes. Yep.
Exactly. Okay. Any more on that Spoonie toolkit?
I'm just going to stick with like my electric blanket, my phone, probably an iced coffee and my dog. Like those are the things that bring me the most comfort and joy. I really love my bed. I got a new bed not too long ago, and it's made a world of difference in how I sleep.
And that's important.
I spent years getting an hour of sleep, probably because I was so uncomfortable. Like I was in pain and all these things. But the second I got a new bed, I slept through the night for like the first time in years. And I was a whole new person. Like I was skipping to work. I was happy. Like a good, comfortable bed makes so much difference.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
You know, back in October, we decided to get a king size bed and new pillows. And I think it made the world a difference. I mean, we look probably like crazy people. I think we have 6 pillows each.
Oh, we're right there with you. I have 2, 4. Yeah, we have 6 or 7. Yeah.
But, you know, as we're getting older and as we're dealing with, you know, chronic pain, it's like you need to prop this shoulder and prop this hip and this leg needs to be over this way.
Back under this knee. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So 6 pillows it is. And that's probably the biggest bummer when traveling.
Yes.
Right? I'm not going to have the pillows.
Mm-hmm. That's like, I used to love to going on trips and like, oh, I can sleep in a hotel bed. It's all nice and comfy. I'm like, no, I need my bed. My bed is what makes me sleep at night. And now like, I can't wait to get home.
They're not comfortable anymore.
No.
I almost feel like, why did I like it?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, honestly, the last thing I have for you is where can we find and follow you?
So you can follow me on Instagram. My handle is ALISONS1616. That's where I pretty much post everything.
And absolutely go find her. Check out all the fun reels. Check out the one from Christmas time. It's the best. And okay, sisters, we're going to catch you next time. And don't forget your spoon.
The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only. Consult your own physician for any medical issues that you may be having. The information should not be taken as a replacement for medical, clinical, professional advice, diagnoses, or medical intervention. My Spoonie Sisters and guests will not be held liable for any of the consequences of such action or inaction. Trigger warning. Some episodes may cover sensitive topics including, but not limited to, suicide, abuse, mental illness, and chronic disease. You are advised to refrain from listening if you are likely to be offended or adversely impacted by any of these topics. None of the guests or hosts will be responsible for your use of the information contained therein. Life is not merely to be alive, but to be well. Living a life with a chronic illness is best described with one word: unpredictable. Be Well's products are designed to make the unpredictable easier to deal with. Back when I was getting my infusions, I would have loved to have their adult zip hoodie. They even have one in pink. They also have everything from one-day pill holders to urgency buckets. So remember, they want to make your life a little easier. So be sure to check out Be Well.